Have you ever watched someone get hurt in a group and felt it immediately? Like, not dramatically, just something landed wrong, like a comment or something, and then someone laughs or they shift the topic and the whole thing just disappears, like didn't even happen. And you're sitting there thinking, wait, did everyone just agree to ignore that? And it's not because people are cruel, they're not. So why do groups do that? And it's consistent, right? Let's take a look at that, because let's say something happens, right? A comment or a joke lands a little bit off, or was my situation when I came over to this country from overseas. I had no cultural awareness, so I'd say things or ask questions or not get acronyms, and there was always this, and that split second, everyone feels it, right? And maybe not intellectually, but physically or energetically. And you can feel the shift in the room, like there's just something off. And then right after that, almost immediately, most people move away from it. Like not toward it, they'll act like it just didn't even happen. And that's something that most people don't understand. It's not that they didn't notice. It's that their system is already calculating a risk if they were to notice it. Like, if I say something, is that going to get awkward? Or am I going to create tension? Or am I going to be the problem then? Is the focus going to be on me? So our bodies do what our bodies have learned to do. They stay safe. They're going to keep us safe. They're going to keep things smooth. They're not going to disrupt the group. They're not going to put the focus or possibly the energy onto us. And just like that, the moment gets bypassed. Like, didn't even happen. And it's not because people don't care. It's because they don't want to destabilize the group, the room, right? Before I go further, I want to introduce myself. I'm Lisa Steinorf. I'm an international leadership coach, member of the Forbes Coaches Council, and I help people to navigate communication and conflict and relationships with more ease and clarity and confidence. So if this work speaks to you, go ahead and subscribe so you'll know when other clips drop, because this is the kind of work that we do. All right. So when you're the one who notices that shift, when there's a rupture in the group, there's also a second layer, because you see what happened and you see that no one else is naming it. So that kind of creates a pressure for you, right? Like, do I say something? Do I just leave it? Am I overreacting? Like maybe that didn't even happen. And this is where people start to second guess their own perception. Like you override what you saw, what you know is off, and then you align with the group. And then the moment seems to disappear on the outside, but not on the inside, at least not in you, right? I'm sure you've seen this happen. Like someone makes a joke at someone else's expense, and maybe they don't mean it meanly, but it's enough that there's this, and there's a quick laugh, and the person goes quiet, even just for a second, and then no one follows that, and then the group keeps moving on. And now multiply that over time. All those small moments that don't get acknowledged, and they stack up. And the person on the receiving end, they adjust to it. And they say less, or they pull back. Maybe they even don't show up anymore, or they drop out if it's a team, or they become more careful, right? And it's not because they're sensitive. It's because the environment isn't responsive. In the group, they may still think everything's fine or pretend that it is because nothing was ever named, but literally the fabric of the group is different, because this is one of those quiet dynamics that shapes how the group functions. And if it's not ignored, it's going to be shaped differently than when it is ignored. And groups will prioritize cohesion, sticking together. That comes from our long lost history of how we have to, there's safety when we stick together, right? So keeping things together over actually addressing what's happening seems to be the priority in groups. And it can feel like safety, but it's actually fragile. It's only an illusion. So anything that threatens that appearance of cohesion, even slightly, is going to get minimized. It's going to get smoothed over or ignored. And it's not even on purpose. It happens really almost automatically, energetically. So the question becomes, what can actually shift that? Without blowing things up, without making this big to-do or making it dramatic, because most people think there's only one option, that's confrontation. Like call it out, correct the person, challenge it, protect. And that usually just creates resistance, right? Like if you jump in with that energy, then the group is going to tighten. And then the whole thing becomes about defending the group and not actually seeing or addressing the moment. So the useful shift is much smaller than that. And it's precise, and it doesn't escalate at all. You just acknowledge reality, factually and non-judgmentally. So something like, hey, I'm not sure that landed the way it was intended. Or, is everything okay? Did something just happen? And that's it. You don't need to accuse anybody. You don't need to analyze or pressure. Just bring it into the group. You're naming it. And here's the fascinating thing. Just naming the shift, even if it's a few beats or even days later I've done, changes things. Something subtle happens. The room pauses. And people feel that moment again that they just glossed over, right? But now it's a shared experience. So you've brought it to light. Now it's a common experience of that group. And even if it does get ignored, when it happens again, if light is shined on it, if someone says, hey, did something just happen? That awareness, that transparency starts to become also a dynamic of the group. So when that moment stops being isolated, the dynamic changes. Because the moment did not disappear, it was seen. And it's important to know this doesn't just happen in social settings or in friendships. It's like everywhere, in workplaces, families, in teams, on projects. So any place where people are navigating different perspectives in the same place. Actually, it's just about everywhere that people are gathering, right? Because everybody comes with different perspectives. Because when something uncomfortable shows up, there's always a choice. And it's usually not in full awareness, but it's real. They either can acknowledge what happened or they can gloss over it. And most people gloss over it because they are uncomfortable with that discomfort of addressing it. It sounds weird. They'd rather swallow the awkwardness than address it. So when judgment takes over, conversations narrow. And they also narrow when we ignore what's really happening. People shut down, they move past things quickly, or they just quietly disengage. But when curiosity remains, even if it's just a little bit, when someone just asks a question, hey, did something happen? Nothing more than that. Then something opens, there's space. And in that space, people can start to think and understand what's happening. And it's not a perfect system, but it's enough to keep us human with one another. Yeah? So the next time you experience one of those moments, you see that happening, even if it's small, remember it's real. So before you go along with the group and what's happening in the room, just pause. I talk about POP. Pause, observe, proceed. Just take a pause. You don't have to fix it. You're not in charge of making everything good, and you don't have to make it big either. Just notice it. And if it feels right, then name it also. Because most of the time, what people need is just to have a light shown on it, right? They don't need you to take over the room and fix things, just someone willing to say, hey, I just noticed this. And that one shift is often enough to change things because people come around when they are helped to have awareness, right? So if this helped you see something a little more clearly or given you some encouragement to speak up at one of those situations, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. You'll be informed when new ones come out. Like the video or share it with people who you think would also be supported by it. And this is a series of videos called Staying Human in a Reactive World, where we look at really small, sometimes invisible skills that help people stay grounded and clear even when things get uncomfortable. And in the next episode, we're going to look at something closely connected. What happens when you're the only one in the room seeing something real? And what do you do with that? All right? I'm really glad you're here. Thanks for listening. Be well.